Was that early? All right, welcome everybody in Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and share screens here. All right. And can everyone on Zoom see the share screen?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Okay, thanks, Mark. Well, obviously, welcome to Calm, the old Montpelier Supply Company Store. So glad to have you all here today. What we wanted to start with is, really, what was the really what could have been a tragic event, but really we were able to turn into something that we just never expected, and certainly didn't expect this on April 8th of 2024. At about 4:45 in the afternoon, as best as Chief Throckmorton can establish, there was an electrical fire in the archaeology office. And within 15 to 20 minutes, that was a blazing inferno. And within, this is the shot right here. You can see the firefighters, the EMS crew, Orange EMS crew just arriving. And we've got Bert Ruby, who's the assistant chief of the Orange Volunteer Fire Department. Chief Ruby, who was the first, the first unit that arrived on the scene?
Yeah, it was, we were sent originally for a firewall. It was engine 23, which is our engine from Orange Fire Department. Second unit in was truck 23. Ironically, I was riding officer on that engine, and Lynn Clemens, who's also here with me, was on our ladder truck. And so yeah, we were the first two units to get here, because in our setup, when the fire alarm comes in, they don't send the kind of response they would to a structure fire. And then when we found out it was a structure fire, they beefed up the response. But by then, we already had mine stretched and the fight fire.
Yeah, your old response was just incredible. I mean, within, I'm not sure how many minutes it was before the main fire got extinguished, but
don't be behind me.
Within about 15-20 minutes, there were over about 20 vehicles, emergency response vehicles that had arrived. And the groups that were there, everyone, the Orange County Volunteer Fire Company, the Vine Run Fire Company, Lake of the Woods, Gordonsville, Barbersville, Rapidan, and Orange. And because of the quickness of the response, the fire was contained to the office there and did not spread in a major way into the lab. And we're just so thankful for your all's efforts on the response for this. And then even after the blaze was extinguished, the fire company stayed for another 2 hours and helped us remove all the artifacts, all the artifact boxes, the records out of the building, and put those on the porch, which allowed us to ensure their security and safety. And in honor of the fire companies who did that work and really saved the artifact collection and everything that we've been able to recover, we've got 2 helmets that were donated that we're going to have on a display here in the main public area when we open up to the public. And we're going to have a testimonial. We'd love to get some testimonials from you all about this and to be able to share, what you all did. So thank you guys for all that you all did. After the blaze, the archaeology team went into full remediation to look at, what was left of the building, what was left of the collection. Like I said, the main office was had the greatest damage. Fortunately, where the main part of the blaze happened, which was my office, there were no artifacts nor any field records in that space. So the parts of the archaeology department that is so valuable to telling the story of the ancestors who worked and labored here, and one of the first groups that contacted us about the fire was the Montpelier Descendants Committee. And they were, first very happy that no one was hurt in the blaze, all the firefighters were safe. But then the next question was, what happened to the artifacts? Or how are those? And this is what we went in to assess. And in our assessment, you know, with the main building, unfortunately, the library was a complete loss. I mean, it's fortunate and fortunate. The reason why it was not a loss was because not burned completely. It was because of the efforts of the fire department. But I don't know how many gallons you all pumped into that building, but it was necessary. There was the building was over 100 years old. It was full of paper. And as valuable as these books are, if these had lit up, the fire would have spread into the lab. And so there was the collateral damage on this saved the resources. There are no books in this library that we cannot replace, but the artifacts in the lab are priceless. So thank you all. But for the lab itself, a lot of the damage that you see in the lab was, you know, in terms of the safety of the artifacts, was surface in many ways. The building was rendered, you know, with the fire unusable, and that's why we're in this space. And one of the main things that happened with the lab in terms of the fire, this is the entrance that you all might recognize going out to the deck that leads down to the parking lot. It was this shelf right here that is where the fire entered from the office into the lab. And unfortunately, this was an area where we were storing the ceramics at the time because that was what we most accessed. And these, while the boxes burned, the ceramics were in plastic bags, and the plastic bags melted. And Liz is going to talk about that recovery process that we went through with the Mac lab. But you can see some of the damage here. Liz, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. So Liz McCaig here, everybody. Great to be here and great to have all of you here. I just want to talk really quickly and give some shout outs. We have Ariana Johnston here today. I don't know where Ariana went. In the sunflower dress. Ariana is a conservator from the Mac lab, and she has spent hours and hours and hours and hours painstakingly mitigating and conserving the ceramics that were impacted by the fire. So we're just so grateful for the Mac lab support and Ariana and everything. We also had a number of paperwork that was impacted by the fire, but it could have been so much worse. We have a volunteer, Ron Downs, who has spent the last year, 2 years before the fire scanning all of our paperwork into our digital records. And without Ron's work, we would not be in such good shape. So Ron Downs really saved the day and helped us, digitize a lot of these records. So we're just so grateful for that as well. The crew is also just, we have to thank the crew. The crew, and there's Matt on the left taking a break. After we painstakingly put on tie vests, we put on respirators, hard hats, gloves for weeks, getting the rest of the, any artifacts that may have, broken out of the bags. We've got all those out of there, and after the, we had just moved all these boxes from the porch, which the firefighters helped us get them out into the porch, which we're so grateful for, into the schooling barn, which is pictured in the top and the bottom images in the middle. We moved those into a schooling barn on the property, which was great, but the only problem was that it's not a climate controlled location. So we were really in a time crunch to get these artifacts into a climate controlled location. All right. So we also have to thank the grounds and operations crew at Montpelier who used all of their equipment, and they made us pallets and helped us really carefully locate and move these boxes over across the property multiple times in our schooling into the schooling barn. The crew pictured here in our tie vest and our helmets and our respirators, they put in so many hours, blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of tears at first. Into the mitigation of the fire, and we're just we would not be anywhere without the crew's help on this.
And what was important about doing this quickly is it was early April when the fire happened, and we were getting into the warm season. So we knew within a month to 2 months, there's not only going to be the certain water damage with mold. And so we're able to get all of the paper records and artifacts dried out before any of that occurred.
Exactly. So just some more action shots, and you can see on the left, we set up a daisy chain, just like the firefighters taught us, in order to get the artifacts from the porch into our trucks and into the pallets to move them. And then on the right, we had to document everything that we lost in the fire or that was impacted by the fire. And so on the right, you can see that storage area and Chris and Steve documenting a lot of the equipment that we lost in the fire. We also made time for fun and camaraderie. We had to laugh at some points. We also made sure to keep safety in mind. So we were constantly making sure that we were wearing the respirators, the hard hats, the gloves, and of course the Tyvek suits, which I don't miss those.
No, we have some of those in the back, in case anybody wants to try one on.
So on the left is a picture of one of the boxes that burned, and on the right is the location of where the impacted ceramics were located during the fire. Like I said, this could have been, like Matt said, this could have been so much worse. We're so fortunate that the boxes that were impacted were ceramics, and I think Ariana's reported that 97% of the contextual information has been left intact, so which is just a huge feat. We would not be anywhere without the Mac Lab support and Ariana's hard work on this, and the firefighters, of course. Just some more impact on the ceramics, and then on the right, we have our study collection. Where it was safe. However, there was a fine layer of soot over almost everything in the study collection. And so volunteers, expeditioners, the folks from Monticello came out one day. We learned how to desoot some of the sooty ceramics. And so you can see on the right, a desooted part, and on the left, that ceramic one that's soot covered. So it was a painstaking process to get the study collection back in order, and we're still working on it. But the soot is all removed at this point, so we're really grateful. And these are pictures from Ariana at the Mac Lab, and she's just been working, like I said, working so hard on heating up a tool to the melting point of the plastic, and then carefully peeling back these layers of plastic melt. And it's taken hours and hours and hours, right, Ariana? And we just are so grateful. We would not be anywhere without the Orange County Fire Departments, the grounds and operation crew at Montpelier, Meg Gillard, who put us in touch with the National Heritage Responders, who joined together and helped us make a plan for how to mitigate the impact of mold and soot and water damage. Of course, the Mac Lab team, the archaeology departments at Monticello, Colonial Williamsburg, and UVA, who donated resources, time, boxes, foam, all sorts of things. Of course, the Montpelier Descendants Committee, who have been with us every step of the way. And of course, our volunteers, our expeditioners, our program participants from all over. Our networks have really gotten us through the worst of this disaster. So we are just so grateful for all of you, and thank you.
And one group that is also here today, Brooke from Merkel Insurance is here. And Brooke has been, this moves us into the lab we're in today, because some of the recovery effort, like Liz was talking about, took place, in the schooling barn and in various buildings across the property while we're in transition to here. But Brooke has been so understanding about, what a complex process it is to recover these artifacts, that it's beyond just, taking them out of the work boxes. There's the extraction process that needs to happen with Mac Lab. And then also in the a couple of months after we recovered and reboxed everything, we realized that the conserved items, these are iron objects that we find in the ground and then conserved. And we spent the last 20 years conserving these objects and carefully coating them to protect them. That with the heat and moisture, they basically started to fall apart, and we were going to have to begin the conservation process all over again. So all the boxes that you see that are in Tupperware and with the purple and the orange labels, these are all items that Brooke took a lot of time to help understand what this process is, and is going to be helping us with doing that conservation. And one of the major things we're going to be setting up next, with starting with the field school and after, is rebuilding our conservation lab that we had in the old one. So.
Thank you, Brooke.
Really appreciate it. And this brings us into, there's an article that was done by the National Trust recently called "Rising Up Out of the Ashes," and it talked about our move to this building. This gets us to the old Montpelier store and why we've chosen this as our new home. One of the things we started looking at soon after the fire was where we were going to relocate, and we knew that the resources to build a new building, clearly weren't there, but also being part of the National Trust, having value for historic buildings. What we wanted to do is to see if there was a building we could use and do adaptive reuse on. And this building came up, and this structure has a long history. It was originally built in 1911 as the Montpelier Supply Company. And Mr. and Ms. Jennings here ran the store from, I think, the late 30s up until 1974. And so the Montpelier Supply Company, this was a general store for the local community. And we've got a number of people here today who remember the store. If you could raise your hands if you remember when the store was operated by the duPonts.
The Jennings.
By the Jennings, yes, but yeah, operated, thank you, by the Jennings in care of the DuPont, absolutely. So what we're doing this week, we've got the Montpelier Descendants Committee has the oral history initiative and collaboration that they're running. And could members of the oral history collective raise your hands? Madeline right there, we've joined together this week to do a special expedition, and Bruce back there as well. Thank you, Bruce. Hello, Bruce, good to see you. We're doing a special expedition this week that combines archaeology and oral history, and we're going to be we've got oral history stations set up both upstairs and the main on the second floor and over in Liz's office on the back here. And so if anybody would like to share memories, we'd love to collect those. But and we've got some great pictures of that. Once Montpelier was given to the National Trust for Historic Preservation around 1983-84, that's when the shop closed, but continued its life as the gift shop, just like you're saying, Carol, from 1987 until about 2003, when it was moved over. Great shop. It was. I've got memories of our kids coming here to get the stick candy, and it continues. And it's about that time that the Esso sign was put out front, and that's something that we want to. It's known as the Esso building today, and we're going to continue to honor that for all this history. For those of y'all that know what we do with archaeology, we're interested in every single time period of history, and so all that combines to tell this larger story. So what we're doing with this is we were looking for an acronym, and Steve actually came up with this, Steve Billy, and we were looking to develop this into a community lab. And one thing about being on Route 20 is this is along the main drag for anybody going from Orange to Charlottesville. And over especially over the past 15 to 20 years, there's been a little bit of a disconnect between the local community of Montpelier with this store being closed and having the gates on Route 20. And so what we wanted to do was to try, a whole new phase in our department where we go from a public archaeology lab to a community archaeology lab. And Steve came up with this acronym, Community Archaeology Lab at Montpelier, with an acronym of CALM, and that's what we want to see, at least for the next decade. We'll see after that. So, but this is something that we're looking to have this space be obviously an archaeology lab. The space you're in right now will serve as the working part of the lab, and then where you all are back there, that's going to be our public space where we have the study collection that we're rebuilding now, have exhibits, and then also have some space in there for drop-in visitors, because just like when this was restored, we're expecting to have drop-in visitors. We're expecting we're going to have more folks that just drop in off Route 20 than used to come down to the lab from the main house tour. Because usually when people get to the gate, they're done and they're taken off for their next destination. So we're looking to have this be something like a visitor information center that tells people about Montpelier, about the Gilmore Farm, about the train station, and orient people to this space and tell this, this other part of Montpelier history that's so important to tell while giving them a taste of archaeology. So that is an important part. Is we want to have it stay open and free, so there will be no charge for this whatsoever. There's something about a free space that people like, and it is very welcoming too. So, one thing we need to do with this is we need to find the staff money to have it be open. So if anybody thinks this is a good idea, don't tell them I said this, but of course this is on Zoom and being recorded. to someone at Montpelier you might know and say this is a good idea and it should happen. We'll see what we can do with the budget, but there's always a challenge, but we're going to get through it. We already have. And one person that, you know, is really making this into a reality is local contractor Gaines Haney. He's been working on this project for renovating this building and restoring it for the past 6 months. And Gaines, I know Gaines had an emergency at his house. He was had a water leak that was pumping water, like 200 gallons a minute or something. So I think Gaines is not here. You see Gaines in town, tell me he's done a good job. So, but for the main lab space, this is what the space looked like. The room you're in right now. This had been used for offices in the early 2000s and then was used as storage. But the building had been rented out to PEC, but since COVID, it really hadn't been used. So there was extensive water damage that occurred, just what happens with old buildings when they're not occupied. And, oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Madeline. Yeah, Piedmont Environmental Council. And Piedmont Environmental Council was absolutely wonderful when they heard about the fire and our interest for this building. Around March, I talked to John, who's the president there, and he said, Matt will pay rent for the rest of the year. You start what you need to do, and gave us the space, which is really, really sweet of them. But for this space today, this is not only a lab space, but it's where we do our community archaeology program. So this is just on Tuesday when Dr. Ford and Madeline Anglin, who's seated in front here, we're doing an oral history lecture. And so this is a multi-use space. And we're looking forward to having more of these events happen. Upstairs, which you'll be free to tour after this, there was extensive water damage to the ceiling. Gaines had to redo this space. We've made this into offices. There's Chris smiling. He just moved into his office with the Esso sign right outside his office. Here's my office that was cleaned. Tanya, my wife, asked me to clean this for a photo. Don't look at it today. It's back to being next. And this is another space that we're really excited about. Like I noted, we lost around 1,100 volumes in the fire, and those volumes were archaeology volumes, local history that interns and staff used to write conference papers because we're not affiliated with the university. So we've had donors, alumni on expedition programs, or advisors from staff, archaeology advisors have donated books from their collection to start to build this back. And if anybody wants to be part of this, and wants to donate a book, in the opening, in the front cover of the book, we put a little label and says who donated it. And this is the other column, Community Archaeology Library at Montpelier. And that's cut off by the Zoom. There it is right there. Now for the furniture that's in the office, once we had the building set, we realized, my God, we have no furniture whatsoever. And looking at the cost of furniture today, we were able to work with the UVA surplus to basically over several months start collecting furniture from UVA surplus. And pictured is Glenn Shiflett. He started scouring UVA for furniture that could be donated. This is a picture of us outside of, I believe, Clements Library, where they were remodeling and getting rid of some of their library shelves, and that's what you see in the library here. Oh, it's Clark Building. Oh, the Clark Library. Is that the science library? This is Tanya, my wife. She made the contact with Glenn for me and has been helping out with that. So thanks, Tanya. But I got to drive Tanya into work several times, about like 5 or 6 times, loaded up with furniture with the F-150 truck. So there was a lot of furniture that called from UVA. So we're really appreciative of UVA for that. Now downstairs,
as a nonprofit, you got the stuff for free.
Yeah, as a nonprofit, we get it for free, which is really nice. Now downstairs in the basement, this is what the basement looked like several months ago. It wasn't exactly a habitable space, but Gaines' crew has cleaned that up. And one of the things we've set up in the basement is a photo stand. And the photo stand, Gene, who's one of her photographers, when we were looking at spaces to do the photo area and desk, he said, these floors are going to vibrate anytime anybody walks across them. You have a space with a concrete floor, and we immediately thought of the basement. And the computer that's here, the booteries that are here donated the computer. Thank you, Larry and Leslie. And so thank you all for more of the community action in process. And then one of the things, the last thing that literally the last board went in about 5 minutes before you all got here. So, we've got an ADA accessible deck that was gonna be our work deck for water screening. When Gaines removed the old deck, which was from the old visitor center, fortunately, we removed that because he discovered rot on the sill all along here, was able to fix the water problems. If you're ever putting a deck on a house, never attach it to the building. That's a big no-no. So the deck here is freestanding. It's separate from the building and is totally remediated. Gaines was able to fix all the problems with the sills in this area. So this is going to be our work deck, but also we'll probably have a lot of going away parties for interns through the years that we expect to have here. It's going to be really a space we're looking forward to using. And these are a few of the donors and folks that have helped us make Column a reality. And really thank you all for the help that you all have given today. The work that we've been able to do is really largely due to first the community support we've received from all of you all. I remember, right after the fire, we decided we weren't able to do the first 2 months of expeditions after the program because we were basically doing remediation. But one of the things that we did was a dinner for the descendant community through an expedition that we run through cooking programs. And so we had about 100 people out at the end of April, and that was just part of the healing that got us to the next phase of this. And this space is one that, we welcome the community, welcome you all. This is a space we want to start building memories in. And, we're so excited about this and appreciative for all of you all done to help. So, but at this point, what I'll do is I'll stop the screen sharing here. And so everybody in Zoom can see the larger picture. What we're going to do is welcome you all to start eating the wonderful food that Liz's mom has partake of the food, and then also feel free to explore the building right behind where Alyssa, wave your hand there. That's the entrance into the basement. It is a beautiful space. You never think about the basement being beautiful, but it is. We're super excited about that as a dry storage space. You can go see the photo station down there. Upstairs, where Tori is right there, that goes upstairs to the offices and to the library. But make yourself at home. This is your all space. We really appreciate you all being here. And thank you for coming out today. Pardon?
Can we use the elevator?
Decommission that, Dwight. Yeah, do you remember that elevator going up and down, Dwight?
You're born.
You know, then go all the way to the
Come in
basement.
here when I was real low and just ride out.
Yeah, Dwight, we're gonna get some of your stories recorded today. Like I said, one thing we're doing this week is recording so many of the stories from the local community. And Phil, are you in the room?
Yep.
Yeah, Phil has his recording station set up in Liz's office just right over there. And Jess, are you here? Jess, I hear Jess going on. Jess is set up upstairs and she can record folks upstairs, so, but, there's Jess. So please make yourself at home, again, partake of food, have some of the punch. And one thing, the champagne, we, wanted to have you all, if you want to partake of some champagne, we welcome this. I'm gonna try to do this, safely with a rag on top of it. And we're not gonna toast with one thing. Yeah. That we did in the process of doing the work here is we wanted to keep as much of the historic fabric intact as possible related to the duPont era, but at the same time make it into a space that was useful. And one of the things we were looking at is this radiator and this massive marble slab. And I think it was Leroy, you and Dwight, when we did that session in April, you all knew that this was a communal gathering area. And
That's the gossip folder.
this is the gossip.
That's the gossip.
Okay, what, the gossip table or
That's
gossip?
where we review the world every day.
Well, we want, even though this is in the middle of the space, we wanted to keep this, you know, as like a memento for that. And for
Well,
that
everybody loved it, because in the wintertime it was so warm.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to talk to Gaines and see if we can get a water heater set up down in the basement and then pump it into this, so. So anyways, come, get some champagne.
And then you have
Yeah. Everybody. If anybody does want to see it, is getting back to around the lab.
Yeah, some of that, surface of the brighter.
But thanks for everybody here too. Appreciate you all.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. This box is involved. Yeah.
Hi, Tanya.
I know.
Hey, Liz. Hi, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Great job, Matt. I think your mic may be off.
Yeah, it probably is.
We lost him.
Okay, I guess it's over.
Hey,
I want-
Tanya.
I want to hear the stories from the people that lived there.
Yeah. Well,
Yep,
there's Chris.
cut his hair.
Does anybody have a
No, just
story?
combed it.
Doesn't have a hat on.
Yeah, yeah.
I was asking, does anybody want to share a story?
We don't have any.
Yeah.
We got lots, but not worth sharing.
So is this supposed to keep going or?
Well, Matt had told me they were going to do a tour, but
Yeah, that's what I thought.
it looks a little disorganized right now, so maybe they can't get it done. We've got to get down to Mayo, so I'm going to
All right.
sign off and bid you all goodbye. Hope to see you soon.
We'll send you some strength.
Thank you, Matt.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Bye all.
Oops. Can anybody hear anything?
No, I guess we lost the screen too. We lost Matt's screen. We may as well sign off.
Oh, who's ever taking the camera doesn't have their speaker on.
There we go. Sorry about that, everyone.
We missed out a lot. Yeah. Need to start again.
So this is the upstairs offices.
We can't see the screen.
Oh, you can't see the screen?
Oh, now we do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oops, lost it again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we see it. We can see it now.
See it fine. Okay. Awesome. They've got a nice little bathroom up here with the offices. And a nice big space. This office over here is Matt's office, head of archaeology. And up here is where they're gonna start rebuilding their library, replacing some of those journals that they've lost in the fire. Nice view of the train station across the street.
Why are you on this one? Are you guys here to meet them?
Then we can head on back downstairs. It's gonna get a little loud.
Can you explain more what we're seeing?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
We can't hear you either.
You're back downstairs, right? I guess this is downstairs.
Yeah, I think it's the main floor. Yeah.
And back outside to the deck again. This is technically the back of the store, but is where they're gonna have their parking and kind of direct people in this way. So this will be the main entry in the back of the lab. Accessible ramp for disabilities. Still a work in progress, but it's looking very nice. And then plenty of parking in the back between the lot and the grass. And you got the nice little view of the train station way over there across the street. And walking around. This, they don't want people driving through, so they've gone ahead and blocked off this front entryway, but old Esso signs still up. They're in a great location to bring in community members and people just driving by and educate them on the history of this place, as well as Montpelier, everything the Descendants Committee is doing. And I'm scared to walk in front of that camera. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us on this kind of little impromptu tour. I hope that you all join us here on site eventually one day, once everything is all finalized and set up. And so I'm gonna end the call here, but I thank you all for joining us and hope to see
Thank
you soon.
you.
Okay.